One of the items I like to experiment with, and it's pretty brand new to CSS 3, is the border radius style. You're able to actually add rounded corners around your sections. And it's a really great tool to kind of add that extra twist. Maybe, instead of being straight edges, corner edges, add a little extra, a curve to something could be enhanced to the design aspect. So one of these things that we typically use is called the style called border hyphen radius, and it basically goes in and just sets up on the corner edges. To make it a curve. So in this case, all you do is you type in into your style, you type in border hyphen radius, and then you experiment. You have to know the size of your section. If you don't, if you add too much, it might become more like a circle. In that, if you add too less, you might not even notice it. So, like in a case like this, what I want to do, I'm going to take a look if I add the rounded corners to the header section, what's it going to look like? Okay, so right now they're just straight corners. So I'm going to take this information I have right here. I'm going to go into my notepad, and again, depending on what you're working with, it doesn't matter in that sense. I mean, if you're using Dreamweaver, same thing. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my header section. I'm going to put in border radius 25, save it. Now I want you to pay attention to this. I want to click on refresh, and I opened up the wrong one, so hold on one second. Okay, and I want you to notice, once I have the right page open, notice the corners there. See how the corners are rounded. So again, if you go in and you make a change, let's say if we make it up to 50, and I save it, and I click on refresh, it gets more rounded. Now granted, I probably wouldn't want it to be, I have a rounded header and then I have my square navigation bar down here below. But the key here is to start experimenting and looking at this and see where you can add it on that. Now, one of the things you might have to watch out for too, when you start using some of these features, some of the older browsers might not use border radius. Okay, because it's a CS3, it's a newer version, came out a few years ago, and so sometimes you have to go in and put in the what we call these declarations to have it fit on, to make sure it works on a Firefox or the older Internet Explorer versions. So that's something you definitely have to check out, and there's a lot of information online that shows you how to do so on that part. One of the other things I like to do is you can actually go in and you can set the corner radius for just this one corner or all four. Now in this case, what I'm doing is I have this example is I'm basically indicating all four corners. I'm doing top left, top right, bottom right, and bottom left. Now you don't need to do all that. You can just do one, and on that. And so if I come back here into Notepad, and I change this to border top left radius 2M. Again, if you're working with units, trying to be more responsive, M units are good. Right now I'm just concentrating on pixels so you can understand. You'll see a lot of pixels in here to understand more of fixed size, but you can go back and forth between the two, and once you get good used to this. And then I'm going to reload here, and you'll notice that the corners over here on the right side are straight, and then we have this nice little curve right up here on the top left. Now you can also use a shortcut, so you can actually go in and use border radius as well, and if you wanted to control all four different sizes, then you have to actually, kind of similar to what you do with margins and padding. So what I'll do here is you can go in and you say, okay, I want 1 pixel space, 5 pixels space. Again, I'm just doing something a little bit crazy here on that part, and let's go back to 1 pixel. And what you're doing is you're controlling the top, the top corners, going all the way around. So if I save this and I reload, you can see that we have some corners over here going on a little bit extreme. It's a little harder to see, but there is a rounded corner up here. So you can go in and use the shortcut radius, shortcut aspect of that too on that part. So again, one of the things you want to look at and start exploring is maybe, where can you add those corners, and soft corners in the curves. Now, another feature a lot of people always ask me, they say, hey, I want my section, I want to create a circle. I want to create a circle. And right now, what I have here on this little example here, I have a little square here, and it's a perfect square. It's like 220 pixels wide and 220 pixels height. And can you make that into a circle? Yes, you can. So I have in here, all I have is a div tag, and it can, if it's a header tag or HTML5 tag, you can pretty much do the same thing. And in here with my style sheet, I'm going to move down to the sub 6. You can see that it's a perfect square. So if you want to get a perfect circle, the first thing you want to do is make sure you set up the width and height to be identical. Okay? And then here, all you're going to do is you're going to take and say, okay, border hyphen radius. And I'm going to, since my square is 220, I want the radius to be half of that. So I'm going to do 110 pixels. And when I save this, and I reload, now it's a perfect circle. Then you can move this text down a little bit more, trying to get it lined in the center, add a little extra padding and so forth. But again, that's how you make a circle. You can make, most people don't know you can make circles within web pages. But you have to set up a div tag, and then you basically turn on the border radius, and once you do that, then you got a circle, which is a neat little trick. Now again, when you're working with design, just try to keep things consistent. So if you have a circle added, don't try to have squares added as well. That kind of, when you have different shapes like that, kind of throws off the design. So sometimes you need to add that circle, and that's part of your theme. Then this is how you would do it with border radius.